Welcome to the Guthrie Family Podcast. I'm Danny.
And I'm Haley.
And have you ever had trouble with your kids accomplishing tasks? Well, we're going to be discussing that today.
You're listening to the Guthrie Family Podcast, a podcast where we encourage you in raising your kids and inspire you to grow in your relationships. We're your hosts. I'm Danny.
And I'm Haley. Join us as we love, encourage, and grow. So today we're going to be giving you 5 different basic strategies to help with children with processing disorders. So last week we talked about processing issues and some problems that might bring into your family dynamics, into your children getting tasks done, getting their homework done. And today we're going to bring about some strategies that we've used and that we've read that are helpful. So again, I'm kind of leaning on the book, Bright Kids Who Can't Keep Up, and you can go to our blog we'll link that if you're interested in more details than what we're giving you.
And we'll put it in the description below.
Correct. But basically what we're doing is we're trying to give you some strategies so that you can be successful. So it's one thing to introduce problems. That's what I told Danny. I said, I keep reading books that tell you what problems your kids have. I want to know how to fix it. So we're going to give you some basic strategies. We are probably going to do a podcast later on that's going to go a little more in depth with certain issues that we talk about. And we'd love for y'all to give us some problems that y'all have dealt with your children, because this can go a little bit more in depth and there can be more other strategies to help your children with what they're having.
Right, and we'll try to specifically speak to those as we get those comments.
Right.
And if you haven't seen the first video, I'll link that video up here for you guys.
Okay. So number 1 is, and we've talked about this before, and you're going to hear this a million times from us, but number 1 is routine. So when you're having problems with your kids, let's talk about doing homework. We talked a little bit on the last part of our last episode talking about getting homework done. So our kids know that when they come in every afternoon from school, they put their stuff down, take their shoes off, wash hands, sanitize, all the stuff we got to do now. And then also they get a little snack. And after that, it's time to get their homework done.
They sit down at the bar, everybody's in a line, and they get their homework out and they start their homework.
Right. And so we do this because we want to go ahead and get it done. You have this guilt, I guess, a little bit in your mind with routine sometimes, because you think, well, they deserve to play. They've been at work, school all day, but they're still in that mode. And so we really just want to go ahead and get it done, get it over with, so they can feel free to play as they want to after that. And it also gives them incentive to say, okay, we want to get this done because we want to go outside and play, or we want to go ride our bike, or we want to go watch something, whatever it is that that child chooses that day that they need as their downtime.
Right.
So,
and I will say this, this really has nothing to do with what Haley's talking about. This is just my feeling, and I may be wrong, but for elementary kids, I don't understand why they have homework anyway.
well,
I hate the fact that elementary kids have homework. Like, you're at school, get it done at school. If the teacher, Haley says that they do that so that the parents know what the kids are doing, send a letter home, man. Send me a text. Like, those kids don't need homework.
Sometimes our kids bring homework home because they choose not to do it at school. And so this is what I tell them. Sounds like you should have done this at school when you were sitting there and you had time to do it instead of bring it home. So Jaden has brought home several things that we've worked on the last couple of weeks. We're going to pick on Jaden a lot during this, but he is one that struggles a lot more with what we're talking about.
Right.
And so we're using him as an example. But he's bringing stuff home that he doesn't understand, that they're talking about all day in school, or at least for a couple of hours in school, and he comes home and he can't tell you anything about it.
Right.
And they've got a test on it on Friday, and he's not even familiar with it. So
that goes back to our first video where we were talking about some of the issues with processing.
Right. I mean, like tomorrow we've got a test on, the basically where the continents are, and so he has no idea where anything is or what their names are.
Right.
There was also last week was the landforms. What is an island? And he's like, I don't know. And so we're like, I've tried several different things with him to try to get him to engage in school. And some stuff he does and some stuff he doesn't. So it's hard to, sometimes with him it is a motivation issue. But he knows the routine is he's going to come home. We're going to sit down. We're going to see what's on our assignment book. And we're going to talk about each one. And then we're going to get each one done.
And I think that, I don't think that I actually know that's huge for kids to, and Haley's actually talked about this before, is that if you want your kids to be secure, they need consistency and routine. Mm-hmm. If you give them consistency and routine, then they're going to feel secure.
Right.
If you don't have consistency and routine, obviously there's going to be a little bit of chaos going on there. So if you're noticing that your kids have an insecurity problem, maybe even some social anxiety type stuff, it may be the fact that you're not on schedule and your routine's not as good as it could be.
Yes, that definitely comes into play with that. And so the other reason we do it right after school, especially for school age kids, is that their brains are getting tired. Now their brains are tired from school, but as with school starting, I mean, I think in the beginning, I think we were all going to bed at like 7 o'clock at night because they were exhausted from school. And so we want to get it done. And then for Jaden, he's on some ADHD medication, so we have to get this in before his medication wears off because it's completely useless after that. So that's the reason we chose the time that we chose. And there may be a different time that works better for your family. But I know when it gets closer to bedtime, we all get tired. And so the last thing we want to do is sit down and start, pounding out our homework and then figuring out, oh gosh, we're too tired to even think about this tonight. So,
right.
All right. So the next number 2 out of 5 is change the way that you talk. So this is what Danny and I've talked about with our kids. And sometimes this works also with your husbands, ladies. But how fast you talk, how much information you're giving them. So we talked about that a little bit in the last episode, but if you tell your kids, go take a bath, get your clothes, brush your teeth, make your bed, I mean, you give them all these things to do at one time, they're going to remember 2 of the 3.
Right. And one of the things that Haley's talking about, one of my things that I tell Haley as she's explaining, like I don't need the explanation. I tell her, tell me what you want me to do. So I just need to know what you want me to do and I'll go do it. I don't need the book that goes around why and how you need me to do it. I just need to know, what do you need me to do? That's it.
Right. So also how complex your language is. So you need to know your kids, language skills. Now I'm not saying talk baby talk to your babies, to your children. I'm just saying there may be words that you're using or in a row that they have no idea what you're saying. So make sure you're talking appropriately to them. If you're trying to teach them a new word, stick one new word in there, not
right.
multiple ones. So I am bad about that, about saying things that are super complicated to the kids and they're looking at me like I'm speaking in Spanish. So
and she is. She's speaking in a language that they don't understand.
Right.
She's speaking over their heads. She's speaking over their intelligence. And a lot of times it's very easy to do, especially when your kids are younger, because there's things that they just don't understand. They don't understand, insinuations, how you can insinuate stuff, how one thing may not mean what it means. And so you need to be very clear on how you speak with or talk to your kids.
Right. The other one is the tone of your voice. So every child is different. So you're gonna kind of know when I'm talking about this, how your child is. So some children do not do well with yelling and anger. So when your kid does not accomplish the task, I mean, they need to know that you're not pleased, of course. But then you also need to evaluate yourself. Like, did I communicate like I was supposed to? Should I really be getting angry at my child? Is when you bring about like anger with your children, trying to communicate with them, a lot of times you bring about this stress. And for our children coming from a place of trauma, some of them that were adopted from foster care, the last thing you want to do is to bring about that stress. It doesn't take much. So screaming can shut some kids down. So you start yelling at them, they're not going to hear anything you say. Now, I will say, especially with my boys, but Danilyn too, I have to look them in the eye and I have to be very emphatic. Sit down, get your pencil, and do your work so that they will know what I'm saying. I mean, if you just say, hey, go get your work done. If the more relaxed you are with it, the less they feel like you're really going to be intentional about it, and the more they're going to play. So they need to know you mean what you say, and that you come back and check and say, and make sure they're doing their work.
And a lot of times what we'll do, Haley's actually better about this than I am, but a lot of times what we'll do when she does this and she says speak to them, she's literally holding them by the shoulders so that this all stops. So she's holding them by the shoulders to stop the motion. She's looking them in the eye at their level, not down on them, but at their level, looking them in the eye and communicating with them. You know, making sure that everything that they have is focused on her. You know, it's not focused on the movement. It's not focused on this. It's not looking out like this. You know, their eyes are focused. Their body is focused. And hopefully their mind is focused eye to eye on the same level. This is what I need you to do. I need you to do it now. And just being very clear with them.
So when you're clear with your children, they know that when they don't get their tasks accomplished, they will expect you to be disappointed in them. I wouldn't say that I yell at my kids a lot. I really don't. If I raise my voice, it's because it's so loud that other people can't hear me. But most of the time, I'm just really intent on what I say to them, so that I'm clear, they're clear. And so that we know kind of this, you're going to do this. And then, you know, of course, when things don't get done, I say, well, if you don't do this, then this is going to happen. So like for Jaden, if you don't get this done in an appropriate amount of time, it's going to be time to eat, then it's going to be time to take a bath, and it's going to be time to get ready for bed. And so I want you to get this done so that you can go play.
Right.
But you have to get this done. And so you have to be very, very clear. So really be careful with your children. And if you wait until you're angry to be intent with them, then they're going to
shut down.
They're going to shut down. And they're
going to tell you whatever they need to tell you to get out of that situation.
Sure.
It's going to be yes, sir, yes, ma'am, I'll do it right now, whatever, just so they can get out of that situation, not so that they can do what you've asked them to do.
Right. We also are very big on doing things immediately. So, and we've had this issue we have this talk with our teenagers a good bit. So you'll say, hey, Molly, go get the clothes out of the dryer for me.
Okay.
Okay. You know, 2 hours later, they're still clothes in the dryer.
And like, hey, Molly, why didn't you get those clothes out of the dryer? Oh, I forgot.
I had to finish this, you know. So you really have to make sure when you're talking to your kids, they understand the time limit that you expect of them. So they understand, okay, Mom wants me to do this right now. And always when I say things, I say, go ahead and do it right now. And they'll say, well, nope, just go ahead and do it right now, because you're not going to remember later. Because Here's the reality, I don't remember later either. And so then everything is left undone. And when I thought about it, it wasn't done. And now we have no clean underwear, that's folded. All right, so number 3, this is a big one, and it's watch the clock, basically. So as your children get older, they're going to learn how to tell time. This is something we've struggled
with
the last year. But it is very important to teach your children concepts of time. So some people have never learned concepts of time.
I have.
Okay.
I just, at this point in my life, don't care that much about them.
But you get your kids to look up at the clock and say, okay, let's do this I think you can get this done in about 15 minutes. So you give them like a time limit. Now, make sure it's a reasonable time limit. I do this with cleaning their room. Hey, I want these things done, and I'm going to set the timer for about 10 minutes. And if it's not done in 10 minutes, then you're going to be in trouble. I don't do this all the time, but sometimes if there's a lot of delays and I feel like it's more of a disobedience than I don't understand you, then I'm big on setting a timer, and because you want your kids to have a concept of time. And kids don't necessarily have a good concept of time.
No, because I can remember, it seemed like when I was a little kid, I remember, the days seemed like they took forever to get over. Like you would get up and you would go play, and then you would come in, and then you would take a nap, and you'd wake up and you would go play, and then you would eat, and then you would, it just seemed like they took forever. And nowadays it seems like you wake up and you get one or two things done, and the day's over. And you know, Haley and I've talked about this before, and everybody says this: as you get older, time goes faster. And it's true. Well, I feel like it's true. Obviously, time doesn't go faster, but it seems as though it does. You know, you look up, 20 years have passed.
Yeah.
Whereas with kids, you can remember being in high school. You think, you know, when you're in the 9th grade, like Molly, she's in the 9th grade, you think getting to be a senior is going to take forever. And it's really just a couple of years.
So we have our, you know, this concept of time, but this is all about teaching your children about getting things done within a appropriate time limit. So you kind of remind them. So it's like, okay, you've had 15 minutes. What have you done? Okay, let's look at the clock. It's 3:45. At 4 o'clock in 15 minutes, we're going to see where we are with this. And so that way they're kind of paying attention. So because we had a story that we were reading last week, and I just felt like we kept reading it, and he would get done really quick, and then he couldn't tell you anything about the story. This is Jaden, of course, and then we would I'd make him read it again, and so then for him to actually read it took about 15-20 minutes. Anyway, this went on, and so I said, okay, we're gonna do this within this amount of time, and I want you to be able to tell me who the characters are, what is the basic story about, and what is the conclusion. Those are our 3 things that we always reinforce when we're comprehending. So anyways, we go through that, and so, but setting that timer or letting them look at a clock so that they have a concept of time. This has to do with getting up in the mornings and getting ready.
Absolutely.
Colton
has no concept
of time.
Like, everybody in the house will be ready to go, and we'll be like, where's Colton? Colton! And you'll go upstairs, and he'll be like, just getting out of his bed, just putting this up. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah. He's twirling his pajamas around his head, you know.
Oh my gosh.
Brushing his teeth for 20 minutes. I mean, there's just, so we have to say.
Now, he remembers everything, but as far as time goes, he's not very aware of being in a hurry.
Of time. So you have to say several times, hey, Colton, do you have your clothes on? Colton, do you have your socks on? Colton, brush your teeth.
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's get going. So, you know, and I remember Zoe used to be that way as well. And now that she's more mature, some of this comes with maturity, as I'll say. But some kids just get ready really fast, and some kids just have no concept of time. And it depends on what they want to do. So Colton doesn't really care about how fast he gets ready. Jaden and Jackson rush to get ready because they want to go drink a protein shake or eat something or turn on the TV maybe for 5 minutes. So sometimes it is an incentive issue. Right. But all this to say, with processing issues with your children, is teaching them the concept of time. Okay. So number 4, using visuals. That's a big one. So when you have kids who cannot understand everything by listening, they have to use their other senses. So, you know, you can tell your kids all day long. Sometimes you have to show them, this is what I want you to do. And this is how, you just assume sometimes that your kids are just going to know how to do things. And they don't. Because, especially with little boys, like if you tell them, I want you to clean off your sink. I want you to take this Clorox wipe and I want you to wipe down everything. You literally have to show them how to do that. Because they'll wipe down the countertop, but not the sink. Or they'll wipe down the sink and not the faucet. Or
they'll just wipe over the top of the faucet and that's it. I'm done.
So I make everybody, when I tell them something, when it's something that I'm going to give them as a task to do. So I've had them, I say this about the bathroom because now the bathroom is now their job because I am not cleaning up the boys' bathroom anymore. They're going to do it. So Jaden, so I made them stand there and watch me. This is how you clean the sink. This is how you clean the toilet. This is where on the toilet, down at the base, down behind. This is where I want you to clean so that they know. And then, the shower and the bathtub and the best, And
the mirrors.
Yeah, the mirrors.
So you can actually see yourself. Let me clean this little spot right here.
Yeah.
Oh, hey.
Yeah.
No, clean the whole mirror.
Thing. So, and boys in general are very visual anyways. So you just telling them to do something, sometimes you just have to show them how to do things. But also with reading our stories, sometimes we have to go over and over them. Sometimes you can use visuals with showing them how to do math, with how to comprehend things like calendars. So that's a big thing in our house. When's my birthday?
Yeah. When's Christmas? When's Halloween?
When's Halloween? When's, my next holiday, basically. So when you write it down and you can show them. So Colton knew that his birthday came after Danny's. Danny's is in September. Colton's is in the end of November. So Danny had his birthday and he said, well, my birthday's tomorrow. Like, no, your birthday's not tomorrow. Your birthday's in November. Let's go look at the calendar. So we flip. This is Daddy's birthday. Flip, flip, flip. This is your birthday. These are all days, So he got upset about that, of course, because
he wasn't happy about that.
Wanted his birthday to be the next day. But that's what I'm saying. It's a visual, because just telling them it's going to be in 2 months, that means nothing to a kid.
Once again, they don't understand months. They don't understand time.
Yeah.
They don't understand how much time a month is.
Right.
So yeah, the calendar is a very good tool to use to help them to begin to understand time. Another thing, we're kind of going back. I'm kind of going backwards on that, but I wanted to say it a while ago. A lot of kids don't understand seasons, but I've used seasons to help some of the kids understand time. Like summer, you know how long it is summer? Yeah, well that's like 3 months or 4 months or wherever you're from, maybe longer or shorter. And then you have, fall and winter and spring. And that kind of gives them an idea of how a year plays out with the different seasons.
Right. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, the kid, that's another visual too. So we have whiteboards. So sometimes kids, some of our kids are so visual that trying to teach them something without drawing it out is almost impossible.
And we have a whiteboard. We actually have a really big whiteboard. And for most of the time we've had a whiteboard. Sometimes we've, not had it out, but now we have a really, really big whiteboard that we just keep out to write things on, or, whatever we need to do with it. But it's a really great idea if you have a place in your home to have a whiteboard to use that, because it's easy to write on, it's easy to erase it. It's easy to change things. Chalkboards are really popular, but I think what happens with the chalkboards are people write it on there and it's such a pain to erase it and write something else that looks really neat that people don't use it as much as they had it intended. So the whiteboard's a really cool thing to have.
Right, especially when you're teaching your kids. So, trying to teach your children concepts, sometimes drawing it out is the best way.
Right.
So the other thing is a chore chart, so that your kids know, and this is something that we haven't really used as much as we probably could. I think it would be helpful to keep us all on task, but it was something that was suggested in this book, and I thought it was a good idea, just so your kids know. So some of y'all do, and I've seen in some of y'all's houses, just seen you on Facebook and Instagram, that you have like something in your bathroom that says, hey, brush teeth, wash face, just flush the toilet, these little things.
Wipe your butt.
I'm only laughing because we have a kid that doesn't do that for some reason. We just cannot figure out why, how, what is going on.
That's a great idea. Like right in front of the toilet, I'm going to put a sign. So when he sits down on the toilet and he looks up, it says, wipe your butt. I hadn't thought about that. That's a great idea.
Well, some people don't use that word, so you might, be able to use a different word. So, but that is our word. So anyways, but yeah, it's just reminding them, it's giving them a visual reminder, especially when they learn to, when they learn to read, it opens up so many doors. I mean, we've been raising babies for so long, that we, everything's a picture for us.
Right, yeah.
So now we're getting to the point where kids are kind of learning how to read, and so yes, that would be very, very helpful. So chore charts are great because it does help you to keep organized. It helps your kids to understand what your expectations are. So kids want to live within our expectations. They really do.
They want to make you happy. They love you.
Right. But they have to know what your expectations are. And so if they see that, it gives them time to process that information and to know what's expected of them. And
one of the things with chores, like each one of our kids has at least one chore that is the biggest chore that they have to do. So one of the ways that we do it is like Zoe's chores, keep the dishes washed. Keep them washed, keep them put up. Dishes. One of Molly's chores is, wash and fold clothes, or maybe just, Haley does a lot of the washing, just get the clothes folded and put up. However you need to do that. And
what did you just say? They only do it half the time.
Yeah.
It's usually my
So
time.
we're not working them to death. But anyway. But yeah, the kids have one big chore that they do. But another thing that we do is we try to encourage them. If you see something on the floor, just pick it up and throw it away. Maybe your chore is not sweeping, but if there's something that needs to be picked up, pick it up, put it away. If one of the girls' toys or clothes are down here and you're on your way upstairs, pick it up, take it upstairs to them. Not that they always do this, but we're
trying to teach them to do this for sure.
Yeah, to encourage them to do that, because in a group, it helps to be helpful to everyone instead of just yourself.
Right. That's what we always tell them. We're a family. We have to all work together
to make this.
We're
thing
a
work.
team, and so in order for this to work, we have to work as a team.
Right.
Yeah, since about everybody. All right, the very last one that we're going to talk about as far as strategies to help you with your kids with processing issues is repetition. Repetition.
Do it again.
Repetition.
Do it again.
Yeah. Read it again. Read it again. So I'd reached out to one of my friends who's an OT about one of my kids that's having some issues with school, and I, basically we've looked at some strategies and she's given me some strategies, but everything I read say repetition. So when your kids have a hard time learning something, it's going to be kind of like what we said with Jaden. You're just going to have to keep doing it. It may take you more times to read it before you understand it. And he has some short-term memory issues as well. So you can do something one day and the next day it's like a whole new concept. And so it is all about repetition.
Right.
So make your kids do things over and over. The more they do them, the better they get at them. Memorization is very important. Understanding what you read, giving your kids strategies to learn how to read or to learn how to comprehend what you're reading, and then doing them over and over and over and over. So we have seen a lot of benefit from repetition. It's tedious to me. I just hate doing things over and over because, I don't know, it's just tedious. It's boring, after a while, but it's so necessary. And this is what I've had to come to terms with. My kids don't learn like I do, so I can't teach them always the same way that I learn because I learn differently. And so for me, I might repeat things a couple of times and I've learned them. They may have to repeat them 20 times before they learn them. And that's okay. And that's what we're trying to get across to our kids. It's okay to not learn things immediately, but it's not okay not to try.
Right. Absolutely.
So that's the biggest thing.
And I have more connection with them as far as that goes. Is I do need a lot of repetition to learn something, to hear it over and over and over. And with some of the different things that I do, as hobbies, it's a repetition of learning muscle memory, if you will. So anyway, yeah.
All right, so that's pretty much, those are the 5 strategies for helping your kids process issues. I hope this has been helpful to you. Like I said, if you'll bring forward, there is a lot of other facets of processing. And when you start talking about it, it kind of does sound like, Danny was like, well, this is a little boring, processing disorders, but it really does affect everybody and every family.
Right.
And helping our kids, this is what we're about, is training our children to do what they can do to be the best that they can be with the abilities that they've been given. And so our goal is to help you as well with your children to do the best that you can with your children so that they can be the best they can be as well.
Awesome. Hey guys, so if you like this content and you're getting value out of it, hit that like button and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell if you want to hear about videos that are coming up. And give us a comment down below on maybe some of the issues that you're having with your kids. And go check us out at GuthrieFamily.blog. That's GuthrieFamily.blog. And on that blog, you can obviously read our blog, but at the bottom of the page, you can become a member. We would love for you to become a member and become a part of our community, and we hope to see you next time. Thanks.